speaker,
Is
Dr.
that on?
Claire Marriott, who is going to talk about Maggies centres. Now, I wonder how many of you have heard of Maggies centres? A few, right. So this is going to be an interesting learning experience for all of us. I have heard of them, which is why I asked Claire to come. I'm sure she will tell you all about them, what they can do, what they can offer us, what we can offer them. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of time for questions afterwards. Okay, Claire?
Okay. Right, am I on? Can you hear me? Yes. Right. Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me, and I realise I've got the almost last slot of the day, so hopefully not too tired. I'm going to just give an overview of what Maggies is, and am I right in thinking that you've all come from England and Wales? Yes. But not Scotland, yeah. Maggies are a Scottish charity originally. We have spread to England and Wales now, and they are the centres that I'll talk about are just the ones here. So, So, quick facts, probably don't need to tell any of you here. 1 in 3 of us will get cancer in our lifetime. 2 million people in the UK are living with cancer. And this is predicted to rise to 3% per year. And the UK being an ageing population means that the incidence of cancer is increasing because age, unfortunately, is a risk factor for cancer. So this is why we have Maggies centres, among many other things. Of course, there's a need for cancer support. So I've got more facts. Yes, nearly 300,000 people per year. I know we're talking about a specific cancer here at your conference, but Maggies centres are there for any types of cancer. 1 in 4 people die from cancer in the UK, 200 different types, and cancer is the #1 fear of British people. So sobering facts, of which you are all well aware. So Maggies centres. Maggies were started by a lady called Maggie Keswick-Jenks, and she had breast cancer and was diagnosed and treated in Edinburgh, and although had very good care, very good relationship with her medical team, she unfortunately, when she was told that her cancer had recurred, she didn't have time to ask questions. She found herself ushered out of the consultant's room without enough time to talk about it, ask what would happen, take in the news, and she started to develop a vision for what she would like to see happen. A place where patients could access information, could feel supported, and have the time that they needed. And Maggie was a landscape architect herself and married to an architectural critic, and she started the vision for what Maggies is today, for places on the hospital site but not clinical, that would be staffed by expert professional staff to offer support. Now I'll go into more. Maggie developed the blueprint of what Maggies is today, which I'll go on to talk about, and we still hold, the first Maggies Centre opened in 1996, and we still hold to Maggie's vision today. Pressing the wrong side. So what are Maggies? They are centres. For anyone that does know Maggies, we are famous for architecture as well as cancer care. So they are purpose-built centres near to the cancer treatment site of a hospital. We offer drop-in support, so by that we mean you don't need an appointment. We're open all day, every day. Some of the centres are opening longer hours to match the hospitals, as I know certainly here in Oxford. Some of the clinics are now running on Saturdays, and we would hope in time to have the Maggies centres open whenever the clinics are running. And we're there for anyone affected by cancer, not just the person with the diagnosis, but family, friends, whoever else is affected. What I'll just roughly go over is our 5, we offer lots of support, but they roughly fit into 5 key areas: emotional and psychological, information, relaxation, stress management, benefits service that we have, and then some other support that I'll talk about. So emotional and psychological support. This is a lot of my work. I have a dual role as a clinical psychologist as well, and all Maggies centres employ a psychologist. And we will work with people individually in the more traditional one-to-one support in a room in a therapy type approach. We work a lot with couples, and that just not necessarily just husband and wife partnership couples, but that could be mother and daughter, siblings, however people want to engage with us. We often work with whole family groups sometimes, or then wider groups. We do work quite closely with lots of other charities, such as yourselves. So we have collaborations with Joe's Trust, the cervical cancer group, with Brain Tumour UK, or prostate cancer, with lots of other charities. We might hold groups as well. And we very much believe in a community or a peer support model. So it's not just about coming in for appointments with me as a psychologist or a benefits advisor. It's about who else you would meet there. And I'm sure lots of you experience this as well, that the value of meeting somebody else who understands your situation, who might have been through the treatment that you have had, can offer advice and insight. That's just as important, and something that we very much try to support with our buildings, which I will come on to. You can just see a snapshot here. This bottom one, that is in the Fife Centre in Scotland. Maggies have homely buildings, which I'll talk more about. Information. We stock written information. We have, it seems like every booklet you could imagine about everything. We have a very complex information system. We also employ a cancer support specialist. Now that is historically a specialist cancer nurse by background, so someone like the speaker you just had, or sometimes it's a therapy radiographer, but somebody who's a health professional who's worked in the medical system. So we have the written information, you can talk to a specialist about treatments. We also have the internet there available for people, and we have a library as well. As you can see, this is the library in Dundee on this side. We do relaxation and stress management. This, going through cancer, is stressful for everyone involved, of course, it goes without saying. So we do, again, a variety of approaches, whether that be individual work with people, or we do a 6-week stress management course that is taught, it's a kind of teaching in some ways, giving you the tools and techniques, taking them away, applying them to your life. Our benefit service, a very important part of what we do and very popular. We employ, in Oxford we're lucky, we have 2 whole-time equivalent benefit advisors, and most Maggies centres will have at least 1 full-time member of staff who's employed to offer support through the benefit system, which anybody who's tried to apply and tried to deal with the forms, it's a complicated process, often having to be done at a time when you've got other things to think about. So they're there to take you through the process, take some of that stress away, and they have great results. It's really important part. Then we have these, what I've called other support for living with cancer. Now some of these, not all of these things will be all of the Maggies centres. We go with local demand and interest. For example, Tai Chi is in most of the centres, not in Oxford because we don't have room, but Tai Chi, we have seated yoga, all the centres will have a nutrition session. Talking Heads is a session about scalp and wig care and hair loss and scarf tying. Look Good, Feel Better, I don't know if many people have heard of that charity, but that's another partner charity, and they offer it's a makeup session, and you are given a beautiful bag of cosmetics and taken through the stages of makeup application, and it does what it says on the tin. If you look good, you feel better. Now I think men can go if they really want, but currently I've never had a man request to go on that session so far. But,
what about the hair loss centre?
yeah, they're certainly welcome. They're certainly welcome. The thing about Look Good, Feel Better, it's about drawing. One of the things they teach is how to draw on eyebrows, and something, but still never had a man come to ask about that either. The network groups, I've touched on those. Those are the ones such as yourselves that we might host or work in collaboration with, site-specific, so one particular group of people with the same type of cancer. We have physical exercise things happening in some of the centres, walking groups, gentle exercise groups, and creative writing. All ways to deal with the impact of cancer, develop coping strategies, or deal with the emotions generated. We also have some core, I've just called these additional courses, and these are core to all the Maggies centres. There's one called Getting Started, which is for people at the start of treatment, and it talks about treatment and side effects and managing those side effects. And a lot of what Maggies are trying to do is give you tools and information to help you manage as well as you can, to be active in taking control of those aspects that you can take control of at a time when it can feel out of control. We have another course called Where Now, and that's for the other end, if people have finished treatment and are trying to regain some sense of normality and regain some fitness. And that's a 7-week programme with exercise as a core component. Again, in response to local need, we will, if people express an interest, for example, a young person's group or a group specifically for carers, we'll always try things out. We're able to be flexible and go with what's required in our local population. In Oxford, we're going to have a course looking at end-of-life issues soon. I've touched upon this, but we are deliberately small teams. Now, we see huge numbers of people, but so far we managed to make that work. And we are a small team deliberately, so that people that come to the centre get to know us and we get to know them. That there's not a sense of a different person every time, having to retell your story, that you know us by name, and hopefully would remember your name as well. I always remember faces, not so great at everyone's name. But so it will always be a small team of the cancer support specialists that I've mentioned, a psychologist, a benefit advisor, and of course we have, because we're a charity, we have the fundraising aspect, so we have fundraising staff in the centre as well. And then various other people who just come in to deliver some courses like yoga and nutrition. Just a reminder, sure you've probably seen this picture before in relation to cancer, the ripple effect of a cancer diagnosis. It doesn't just hit the person who's diagnosed, the ripples spread out to affect lots of people around, and we're there to work with anyone who's affected. So just a few more photographs. Has anyone been to the Oxford Maggies Centre? Well, I'm glad about that, because here I am talking about architecture and these environments. In Oxford, we're actually in a porter cabin. So, so if anyone had been, they'd be sitting there thinking, what is she talking about? But we are waiting for our building, which I will come on to. But this one's Glasgow at the top. This is Highlands here. Maggie's vision was to have spaces that weren't just non-clinical, but that they were actually uplifting and inspiring. And I worked in Glasgow for 3 years in the centre there before I came down to Oxford. And I can say, I can't tell you scientifically how, but I just can tell it does make a difference to have the light, the space, for people to feel valued and important enough to use that space, and not just one of another person in a queue in the hospital system. Oh, that one's Fife. Oh, and that one's Dundee. And there's some more. The heart of any Maggie's centre is the kitchen table and the kettle and the cup of tea. And that again is deliberate. There's no reception. We don't wear badges or uniforms or anything like that. We try to recreate what would happen if you went round to visit someone's home. Then usually the first thing is, would you like a drink? Let's sit down, let's have a cup of tea. And that's exactly what will happen if you come to a Maggie's centre. That you'll be welcomed and offered a drink. And after your first visit, you'll be encouraged to feel at home and help yourself to a drink. So we have a very busy kettle. And it encourages, again, that sense of community, people to use the space as their own, as their community. Stuck? Yep.
Oh, they disappear. I'm going backwards, aren't I?
Yeah.
I hadn't intended to go backwards. Oh, wait a minute, what's going on? Is that coming forwards?
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And the next one? Have you got a next one?
Yes. Should have.
What about that?
Oh.
I use one of these arrow keys.
Oh, there's some. I've put some. There are some more photographs in there that were inserted from somewhere else, and
Let's go.
I wonder if it can't read them.
I wonder whether it can't read them because the arrow key takes me to that screen.
Oh, well, there were some more beautiful photographs of all the centres that are in England and Wales. There is a centre in London, Cheltenham, Nottingham, Swansea, then us in our Portakabin in Oxford. Oh, it's this over there, yeah. And there's one under construction in the northeast in Newcastle. And if you live near any of those places, I would encourage you to go. They're very lovely places. Yes, I've put literature out on the table out there. There's booklets about our centre, about the programme, about everything that I've spoke about. They're all out there, so you can see those.
Let's try the arrow key again. I don't know.
Oh, hang
No,
on.
you're using it.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, let me do it then. But this
Well,
one,
you
yeah,
succeeded.
this one's London.
Where is it?
It's on Fulham Palace Road at Charing Cross. And yeah, once you know what you're looking for, you can't miss it because it's bright orange. But if you don't know what you're looking for, it's kind of hidden. And if you go in there, it's such a busy road with sirens, but you go inside to an oasis of calm. This one's Cheltenham. This one's a conversion of a pool keeper's lodge. Oh, this one's Nottingham. Oh, it's not come out very well on there, but it's kind of like some kind of Teletubby house from the outside, actually, but it is beautiful again. Swansea. I've not been to this one myself yet. I'm going next week. This is the most recently opened. And this is what we will be having in Oxford, our treehouse design. So we've been there, actually one of the longest Maggie centres. We've been operating in Oxford since 2004. And just as a matter of interest, even in a small little centre like ours, we had nearly 8,000 visits last year. We see on average something like 30 people a day. So we are, and some of the Maggie centres are seeing some days about 100 people a day. So, oh, there we go. I've got this. So yeah, last year over 100,000 people visited Maggie's centres, and 30,000 of them want to see more men. I see there's quite a few men in the audience here today, but yes, we like it when men come. We welcome comments about how we might encourage more men to come and use our services. In Scotland, where Maggies are more established, where they've been present for longer, then we think that 1 in 4 people newly diagnosed do visit a Maggie's centre. Obviously, we'd like that to be more. We want people, you often hear people don't know we're there. We're still, I think we've moved in status from a small charity to a medium charity recently, but still lots of people don't know about us and don't know about the support that can be had. For anyone that doesn't live near a Maggie's centre or is still waiting for one to be built, as we are in Oxford, then there is an online Maggie's centre. It's a virtual recreation of everything that we offer. You can speak to a cancer support specialist one-to-one, or you can meet other people there in the chat areas and on the blogs to have that sense of community. I run an online support group. On the site, there's nutrition advice, and there are courses as well, just the same way that you would have in the centre. And I think that romp through was, that's me.
Thank you very much. That's been quite an eye-opener. So thank you very much. Any questions? How do you differ from Macmillan centres? The sort of, I mean, we've got one in Epsom Hospital called the Butterfly Centre.
Okay.
And it sounds a bit similar,
Yeah.
but that's just in a sort of couple of rooms tucked away in the back of a hospital.
Yes. I know that Macmillan do have some centres, and some I believe are quite similar purpose-built designs. I've not been to one, so I think there is a big overlap. And in fact, in Oxford, we do have a collaboration with Macmillan because they fund our benefit advisors currently. So
Right.
we do work alongside them. We stock Macmillan booklets, but we in some ways we're working to the same aim. And some sites, for example, Glasgow they have a Macmillan presence as well. One that sounds quite similar to what you described, but because there can't be too much support. There's enough people to go around, so we differ in funding, but in purpose quite similar sometimes.
Now, where's the roving mic?
Well, very quick question. How are you financed? Because these are rather nice buildings, must be expensive.
They are very expensive, and we are entirely charitably funded. We have some national lottery funding for some of the upkeep, the ongoing running of the centre, but the initial money raised to build the centre it's all campaigns to raise the money charitably.
Any other? Oh, there's a hand. Is that a hand over there?
Give me the mic. I'll take it over.
Oh, I thought Neil.
You've got it. You've got it.
I got it. Yes. Any other questions? No. So when are you going to build your Oxford Centre?
Well, any day now, I am promised. It's a bit behind what we were hoping, that it should have been built by now, but it should be starting any minute now, literally.
Right. And is the money, for example, for the Oxford Centre, is that raised locally in Oxford, or is it raised sort of nationally?
That's a question. I don't know. I assume it has been raised locally, but I couldn't say for sure. If somebody's got a wish, some people leave money to Oxford.
Yes, somebody's left a legacy or something.
Yeah.
I suppose the fact that Maggie was an architect is why you have these fabulous buildings.
Yeah, that was her vision. She believes that health is related to our environment.
Right. Do you have any information leaflets about GIST?
We do. We stock
You
yours.
do?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Anybody got any other questions?
Yeah, just one thing on the obvious that you don't get that many men in compared to the ladies. Put a pool table in there.
Do you know, we've had that suggested before, and I think it's a good idea.
Alcohol bar would, of course, drag them in as well. The other thing is, on the centres, it's typical, it's not your fault because you go where the majority of people are, but when you're like me, who lives in the middle of nowhere, and we have the same thing as I'm an Age UK volunteer as well, and we've got exactly the same problems because we're so remote. There is nothing for the people, and where we live, we have a very old population. It's a retirement area. People come to live next to the sea in their retirement. So we have a 75% of people living there are probably over 60. But what happens is that we don't get any amenities. So my nearest Maggies centre is probably 2.5 hours from where I live. The Age UK centres are at least an hour and a quarter away. There's no public transport links to get to them. So they are in fact completely useless to people like me where we live. And it always seems that if you live in a city, that's where your centres are going to be. But if you're out in the sticks, a sizable population, but you're left on your own.
Where is the cancer treatment then from where you live?
I'll have to go to Lincoln, which is an hour and a quarter. So, you know, hospitals are another problem with us as well, because our nearest hospital is an hour away.
I mean, Maggies deliberately are where the big regional cancer treatments happen in order to be accessible to the most people accessing the hospital. But yes, it does mean that that's, by those nature, they're in the bigger cities as well.
It just seems to me that it's like other things. It's a real shame that you've got Macmillan, you've got Maggies, there's another one down south and I've forgotten the name of it. Sorry? Yeah. There is another Macmillan type setup, and there's also Age UK and all the others, and maybe if you all got together and you could have one drop-in centre for just about everything, and it would be so much more efficient than each person having like a rival setup.
I think people who live in lovely places may have to travel. I remember we had a GIST patient who lived out on the Western Isles, and I remember after her husband died, the wife did say, you know, we do live in one of the most beautiful parts of the UK, but it's 2.5 hours to a hospital. And this is the flip side of living somewhere beautiful. And I'm afraid there's no answer to that one.
No. I mean, certainly I know in Glasgow with people from the Western Isles, they would come to stay in Glasgow for their treatment,
Yes.
or in a hotel if they were having day treatment, they'd still stay in the hotel. But obviously they could visit Maggie's while they were there, but
Yes.
that's why we've got our online centre, to try at least to go one step towards being accessible for everyone.
But if you've got a population which is getting on a bit, they're probably less IT expert,
Yeah.
says she with feeling.
I do have a vision. I would love to have kind of a camper van, a mobile Maggie's that we could go around and be,
That's a good idea. Yeah.
because we like it homely and domestic, so that's what's it to be a mini house too.
Caravan.
Yeah.
Any, Jane. Tom.
Now you mentioned that you already had GIST Support UK leaflets.
Mhm.
Have you actually given them to many, have there been many GIST patients come to the Maggies Centre?
No, actually. Maybe I can think of perhaps one, but I might not see everybody who comes, so that doesn't mean to say they're not there. Certainly I only can recall one lady in Glasgow as well.
Well, we are very rare.
Yeah.
Right, any other questions? Right, well, thank you very much.
Okay.
And it's been very interesting. We look forward to, oh, I can't stand there, to having the Oxford one. We shall watch the local press. Those of us who live in the area, where's Lee? Well, where is she? Oh, she's gone outside. She lives in Reading, which is not that
Oh,
far
right,
away.
okay.
I'm sure she'll keep it. Oh, there you are, Lee. Will you keep us posted when the Oxford Centre sort of takes off and sort of as it grows? As it grows. Okay, well, thank you very much. It's been very interesting, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.